Okay, in this video, we'll talk about the tuple data type in Python. Tuple is a very useful data structure in Python. It is a fixed length, immutable sequence of objects in Python. And it's great for representing pairs of numbers or a number larger than 2 or more numbers together as a set. So now let me show you how we can declare a tuple in Python. So first, let me launch IPython. Okay, so the easiest way to declare a tuple, for example, we can name it tuple underscore 1 and with an equal operator, and then we just type in the value inside the tuple. Okay, so this has declared a tuple variable in Python. So if I type the name of the tuple, top underscore 1, I can see that the 7, 8, 9, 10, the four integers have been stored in this tuple. And the way that a tuple is represented in Python is with the parentheses around the elements in the tuple. Okay, so also another way to declare a tuple is very similar to the first way, but instead you just add the parentheses around the elements, right? And that will give you the same thing, a tuple data type. So when you're defining tuple in more complicated ways, it's often necessary to put the values in the parentheses because this way, Python will know for sure that you're trying to declare a tuple rather than any other kind of data type. So for example, if you want to declare a tuple that's made of other tuples, so if you want each element in the tuple to be a tuple, a way is to, for example, type something like this, right? And that gives you tuple underscore 2. You can see that it's a tuple of 2 tuples. So outside parentheses indicate that this is a tuple variable as a whole. But inside the tuple, each element, the first element and the second elements are themselves tuples of integers, right? So you can also do tuple underscore 2, equals, you can get rid of the outside parentheses, or you can have them right? This makes it easier to read that you are declaring a tuple of tuples. And basically, you can convert any sequence or iterator to a tuple by using the tuple constructor in Python. For example, if I type tuple and then followed by parentheses, and I can pass in a list, right? So say 7, 8, 9 as my list. And this has turned the input to this function, which is a list 7, 8, 9. Turn this into a tuple through the tuple command, right? So I can say tuple number 3 is equal to, say, tuple, right? I can type anything, 7, 8, 9, 10 as my list input of this function. And now tuple number 3 will be this tuple that's converted from this list, which was the input to my tuple function. Okay, so I can also convert a string into a tuple using the tuple function, right? So let me say let me see, tuple number 3 is equal to tuple followed by parentheses, and I can type any string I want, right? And then close the parentheses. I type top underscore 4. You can see that the tuple function has turned the input, which is a string saying hello, okay, in single quotes, has turned that into a tuple consisting of each letter in the string, right? So this is a tuple of 5 elements, each element being a single character, okay? And the elements in the tuple can be accessed with square brackets, just like you would access any element in a list or in a string in Python. So this is very easy. And also please note that in Python, the index of the elements in the tuple start from 0. So this is the 0th element. This is the first, second, third, and fourth elements in the tuple. So basically, if I do top underscore 4 followed by square brackets, and I type 0, so I'm accessing the 0th element in the tuple. So that's the first element, which is h, right? And if I type tuple underscore 4, say 3, and accessing L, that's the 4th element in the tuple, which has the index 3. And while each element stored in the tuple may be mutable themselves. For example, if I pass in, for example, let's do a tuple which is made of a list of elements. Okay, here I'm passing this list consisting the word hi as the first element, and another list as 3, 4 as the second element in the list. So this can be a list inside of a list. And then the word there as the third element, and the number 8 as the fourth element. So together, this is a list, and I'm passing this list into the tuple function to make this into a tuple. So if I do tuple underscore 5, this is the tuple I'm having. So while the elements inside the tuple may be mutable themselves, for example, the list is mutable in this case, right? But once the tuple is created, it's impossible to modify which object is stored in each slot. So for example, let's say I'm trying to do top 5. Let's say I'm trying to convert the last element, 8, which has the index 3. I want to turn it into number 5. I will get an error. It says tuple object does not support item assignment. So basically, once this tuple is declared, since the tuple entirely is immutable, so I could not simply change one of the elements in the tuple. Okay. However, what I can do is notice that there's a list element in the tuple in top 5. So the list element is mutable, right? So what I can do I can modify this list in place inside this tuple. So I can modify this list inside the tuple variable. So while the tuple variable in its entirety is not modifiable, is immutable, but this item inside of it is mutable, so I can change it to another list and still have it within tuple number 5. So what I can do is tuple underscore 5. Okay, so this is 0, 1. That's a number 1 element in tuple 5. So I can do, so now if I type top underscore 5 square bracket 1, if I hit enter, I get a list 3, 4. So this entire variable here, top underscore 5 square bracket 1, if you look at this in entirety as a standalone variable, then it is mutable because it's a list, right? So what I can do is I can apply all kinds of stuff I would do on a list to this variable. So I can append an element, for example, say number 5, right, to the end of the list. So if I access this variable again, you notice that, as you would expect, you appended an element to the list. And now, if we look one level above, we look at top underscore 5, you will notice that the list element inside the tuple has been updated as well. The number 5 has been appended to the list, even though the entire tuple is immutable. But somehow this element, since it is mutable, we were successful in changing it. So this is a very useful property of tuple that you should know. Okay, another trick you can work with tuples in Python is called concatenation. Okay, so what you can do is you can concatenate multiple tuples using the plus operator to produce a longer tuple. So when we add numbers in Python, we're basically calculating the arithmetic sum of those numbers. But when we add tuples, what will Python do is Python will simply align them one after another, to line them up to make them a longer tuple. Okay, to show you, let me first declare a tuple called top underscore a. Okay, I'll just make it a tuple of strings. Okay, and I will declare another tuple called tuple underscore b. I'll make it something like I am a, and go tuple c. I am a tuple. Okay. Notice that here, if the tuple has only one element in there, then you should still put in a comma followed by parentheses, right? So even though there's only one element, okay, this is just Python syntax. Okay, so now I have the 3 tuples. What I can do is I can just add them. Sorry, tuple b plus tuple c. So I can simply add the 3 tuples together to turn it into a longer tuple. Okay, so once I've declared the 3 tuples, what I can do is I can do tuple underscore a plus tuple underscore b plus tuple underscore c. I can add the 3 tuples together. Okay, and what Python would give me is a concatenated tuple, which is one tuple that's longer, right? Because it contains all the elements from the first, second, and third tuple, and together they line up into a new tuple containing all the elements in the order I have specified. So I get hello there, I am a tuple. Okay, so adding is one way to concatenate. Another way is to multiply. So if you multiply a tuple by an integer, as you would do with lists, this basically has the effect of concatenating together that many copies of the tuple together. So what I can do is, let's say if I have tuple underscore a times 5, right? If I hit enter, what do I get? I get another much longer tuple, which basically repeats tuple underscore a 5 times. So I get hello there, hello there, hello there, hello there, hello there. So the elements in tuple underscore a are repeated 5 times and then combine into a longer tuple when you do a multiplication of a tuple. Okay? And another thing you can do is you can unpack tuples. So by unpacking, I mean you're providing a way for Python to access the internal elements in a tuple and then do some variable assignment or operation with those elements. So what you can do is you can try to assign a tuple-like expression of variables, and Python will attempt to unpack the values on the right-hand side of the equal sign. For example, if you have tuple underscore 6 is equal to, say, 1, 2, 3, I'll just make a simple one, right? So what you can do is, let's say if I want to declare 3 variables, each corresponding to one element in tuple underscore 6. So what I can do is A, B, C equals tuple underscore 6. That's all. So this may look counterintuitive because basically you're declaring 3 independent variables and set all of them equal to a tuple. So what Python is going to give you is not that A, B, C will all equal to the same tuple, but instead Python will unpack the 3 elements in tuple underscore 6 and assign them correspondingly to A, B, C. So what I will get is A equals to 1, B equals to 2, and C equals to 3. And if you look at the type of, for example, A, it's an integer, okay, even though the type of tuple under 6 is a tuple, okay? So, and even if you have a tuple of tuples, for example, tuple underscore 7 is equal to, let's say, 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th element is another tuple, 4, 5, right? So you have a nested tuple, okay? And what you can do is you can do A, B, B, C, and D, E is equal to tuple underscore 7, right? So now you, as expected, you have A equals to 1, the first element B is equal to 2, C equals to 3, and what about D and E? Because D and E together form a tuple, right? And we're setting them to be equal to the tuple 4, 5. But now, if we access individually D and E, what would we get? Well, D is equal to 4, E is equal to 5. So Python has unpacked 2 levels below tuple underscore 7 to get 4 and 5 and assign 4 and 5 as integers to D and E, which are integer variables. Okay, so as you can see, this is actually a very easy process for Python to unpack variables. So this provides a lot of flexibility when you work with tuples in Python. Okay, and in Python you can also do variable swapping. For example, if you this is also done through the method of tuple. So for example, if you have set A and B equals to 3 and 4, okay, you have A equals 3, B is equal to 4. Now, if you want to swap the values stored inside A and B, you want to make B equal to 3 and A equal to 4. In Python, there's a very easy way you can do this. You can just type B comma A is equal to A comma B. Okay? So this may seem counterintuitive, but now you can see that B is equal to 3. Okay, you've swapped the values in A and B, and A, of course, equal to 4. Okay. Another common use of variable unpacking is to iterate over sequences of tuples. Okay, so what you can do is, for example, you can first declare a list A, which is equal to the sequence you want to unpack or you want to iterate over in a loop. And inside of the list, each element is a tuple. Okay, let's say this is 3, 2, 1. This is 6, 5, 4. I'm just typing some random numbers here. This is 9, 8, 7. Okay, I close the list. So list underscore A is a list of tuples, right? You can verify this using the type function. Okay, it's a list. Okay, now what I can do is I can start a loop, a for loop. Okay, so for x, y, z. These are just, x, y, z are just dummy variables that represent, if you're iterating over each element in the list, and each element consists of 3 integers, right? So x, y, z represent the 3 integers inside of each element in the list. So x, y, z together represent each tuple in the list. So you're iterating over each tuple in the list in list underscore A. Let me do a print function to print x, y, and z so that you can see the values. Okay, if I hit enter, you can see that Python has iterated over each element in the list and assigned the individual variables x, y, and z equal to each element in each of the tuples in the list, right? So basically it shows me the first tuple 3, 2, 1, and then the second 6, 5, 4, and then the third 9, 8, 7. Okay. So there's another way of working with tuples is to return multiple values from a function. Okay, so and this will be covered in more detail later. And another thing you can do with tuples in Python, this is a more advanced way of unpacking variables, unpacking values from a tuple, is sometimes you only want to extract a few elements from, let's say, the beginning of a tuple, right? And then you don't really care about the rest. So let's say you have a very long tuple consisting of 100 elements, right? And you don't really care about all 100 elements in that tuple. You only care about the, let's say the first 2 or 3 elements in the tuple. So you want a quick and easy way to extract the first 2 or 3 elements, and then you don't really care about the rest. Okay, so this can be done in Python easily using a particular kind of unpacking. Okay, so let's say I'm declaring a new tuple, maybe 8. That's equal to, let's say, just 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I'll make this look nicer. Okay, so this is another tuple. So what I can do is, what if I only want the first 2 elements out of the tuple? I only want the first 2 elements, and I want to assign them to 2 integer variables, a and b. Okay, so what I can do is a and b, and then I can use the Python a special syntax called rest. Okay, so it's special, so I will have to put an asterisk at the beginning and then rest. Okay, so star rest. It basically means everything else. Okay, so let me assign this to make it equal to top underscore 8. Okay, what happens behind the scenes is that Python has taken the first 2 elements out of tuple underscore 8, 4, and 5 and assigned them to a and b. Okay, because here I specify the 2 integers variables, so Python will only take the first 2 values out of the tuple and make them a and b. And rest will be another tuple that contains everything else. Okay, so in this case, 6, 7, and 8. Usually, this is the part that I don't really care about. I only want the values of A and B. So if I type A, I can see A is equal to 4, B is equal to 5, and of course, the type of A or B is an integer. Now, what about the rest, the things I don't care? They're stored in a variable called rest, right? 6, 7, 8. Okay, so the elements that I don't really care about are stored in this variable. And the type of rest is a list, okay, because I have more than one value here. So this is a great way when you want to extract only a few values from a very long tuple. Okay. Another thing you can do with tuples is you can apply tuple methods, which are available in Python. So basically, they're just like the dot methods you would apply to lists, but you can apply them to tuples to achieve certain functionalities, such as getting information about the tuple or to perform operation on the tuple. So here, for example, let's say I have tuple underscore 9 is equal to, I'm just typing some random numbers here, but I will intentionally repeat the number 7 multiple times. Okay, so in tuple underscore 9, you can see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times that the number 7 has appeared. So what I can do is, let's say if I want to count the number of times that the number 7 has appeared inside of this tuple, there's a convenient method called .count. So first I type the name of the tuple, tuple underscore 9, and then .count method. And I type in the input, as the input, the number that I want to count. In this case, I type 7, so because I want to count the number of times that the number 7 has appeared in the tuple. If I hit enter, Python will give me 5. Okay, so it says that number 7 has appeared 5 times inside of this tuple. So this is a very useful method for counting the frequency of elements inside of tuple. Okay, this is all I want to share with you today regarding tuples. Thank you very much.